All right, here we go. Let's do this. Welcome to day 18. That's right, day 18 of swimforrecovery.com. Thanks for all you have been tuning in over this last month. I know it's a lot. People have other things to do, but I always appreciate when people tap in. So if you want to, go ahead and post something that just kind of shares where you're tapping in from today. Let me know where you're coming in from today. And we're going to share a great story, great recovery story by Coach Andre today. And would love to know kind of where you're tapping in from, see where people are coming in from around the country. I know we got people in the UK that tap in quite a bit, but so far we are 18 miles in the month. 1,188 laps have been swum, and that's the equivalent of about 316 football fields in length. So gives you a little kind of a perspective there the next time you go watch a football game. But I want to encourage you, please share this post on your pages so people know, because not everyone gets these feeds based on algorithms and all that kind of stuff, right? So just please share this post, would be awesome. And if you haven't been there already, go to swimforrecovery.com and check it out. There's a lot of great content on there. Every story this month has been posted on swimforrecovery.com. And it's here, we're gonna make sure the sound is here. All right, cool. So yeah, please just go check it out. Text it to a friend or two that may want to know about it, that doesn't know about it. And then if you're in the Denver area or beyond, beyond is the streaming local. But September 29th, we're having a huge party here in Denver. Going to celebrate the end of the month for swimforrecovery.com. We're going to celebrate the addiction intervention book, which if you have not purchased a copy yet, go to Amazon and grab yourself a copy of the addiction intervention book. Really proud of this. It's been definitely a lot of work, but a lot of amazing content in here. And I know it's not always easy to reach out for help, which is why we're doing these swim for recovery stories, right? It's not always easy to reach out for help. And sometimes, people that know me don't want to reach out for help because of the shame and the embarrassment and stuff like that. I just want to tell you right now, there's no judgment on my end of it all. I've been through so much and I helped so many people. I'm grateful for that, right? So the Swim for Recovery campaign has been great. And, again, we have 12 more days of swimming to go. I'm dealing with like an ear infection or like a jaw out of alignment thing today. And it is just tough. So pray for endurance for my body this month would be really great. Could always use prayer for a lot of things. So I want to say thanks for all that have donated so far. I think we've raised over $3,000 at this point. So again, 12 more days in the month and excited for that. So we're going to go ahead and dive into Coach Andre's story. But again, please go check out swimforrecovery.com if you have not been there yet. You can learn more about my story a little bit. You can hear from Amy Van Dyken, who has a video on there, former six-time gold medalist in swimming. She has a video on there why she loves what I'm doing for mental health and addiction and recovery. And then all the other 17 stories are on there. I think I still need to put Charles's on last night. And for those that saw yesterday's, I actually forgot to end the broadcast after Charles's talk. So there's about 25 minutes of additional footage, which is just a screen where I look like this. So after Charles is finished, it's only really like a 17, 18-minute talk total. So, all right, here we go. We're talking about addiction and recovery from Coach Andre. So I'm going to go ahead and fire his story up and let you enjoy it. I'm going to take me off the picture here. It's all about Coach Andre. All right. Here we are in the wee hours of the evening, hanging out with my friend Coach Andre, talking about recovery stories for swimforrecovery.com. Again, all the stories we're doing this month are all posted on that website, swimforrecovery.com. So go check it out. Go watch a lot of the other stories. Today you're going to hear Coach Andre's, and I'm excited for that. So, Andre, man, thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit tonight.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool when people say, "Hey, I'll share a little bit about my stuff," and it's hard to get it all in there right in 10 minutes. We're just gonna have some. We'll dive deep when we need to dive deep, and just stay surface when we need to stay surface. But at some point in your life, it was like, "Hey, I'm done with this stuff." So What year or month or day would you say is kind of you identify as a sobriety date?
Let's see. I turned 21. I had 9 months of sobriety, so that would make it March of 2019.
All right, I'm not here to do anyone else's math. So, well,
uh,
2019 would be let's see, it would be that would be 3 years ago. So we've going further
oh,
back than that. I mean, I know you're a young chicken at 51, but
1920.
oh yeah, 1920. So hey, somewhere in the 1900s, you stopped doing your stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was like 30 years
That's
ago,
what it
right?
did to my brain, man.
Yeah, that's fine.
I
That's
just had the
fine.
numbers switch. That's all.
All right, so like 30 years ago ish, you
Yeah,
decided you didn't need substances in your life anymore. And what state or city are you sitting in right now?
I'm in Albany, Oregon.
All right, Albany, Oregon. First one from Oregon in the Recovery Stories campaign here. So, all right, represent Oregon, and
Hoorah!
or some people probably say
Oh,
Oregon or origami and stuff like that. So, let's dive in a little bit to because I know we met through a cool group of entrepreneurs and stuff. But let's dive into kind of what when you started using substances and kind of how it grew to the point where you decided 30 years ago ish um, that you decided you didn't need it anymore. So.
well, I was actually 8 years old when my youngest brother's father got me started smoking pot, drinking liquor, and it just kind of went in that direction. He was extremely abusive. So, after he left and I got older, I still was, doing it, and it just got more and more. I was buying alcohol and liquor when I was 13 years old. I was pretty much a full-blown alcoholic by then.
What state were you living in when you were buying liquor and stuff at 13 years old?
California. And this was also back in the late 70s, early 80s too. So I mean, there was still a lot of leniency back then.
All right, all right. So you're yeah, a young chicken out there buying some alcohol and doing your thing at 13 years old, and then that progressed somehow over the years to abuse and
Oh yeah,
addiction. So
I had ended up in the Navy when I was 20 years old, and I was drinking about a case to a case and a half a day, plus Tanqueray gin and Jack Daniels and chasers. I had a pretty good drinking career going on. I mean, I'd play pool, uh, I was so good that I was getting myself and my friends drunk because I couldn't drink them fast enough.
wow,
And so I mean, it was just. And then one day I found like $600 in a bank account that I didn't know I had, and me and a buddy of mine. I mean, I'm surprised we didn't end up in the hospital because I mean, all we did, if we weren't at work, we were at the bar. And but unfortunately, I got in trouble too many times. There was one time where it was I should have been off, but I was still on, considered on duty, and I was drinking, and I got in trouble. And then there was a time when I was supposed to be on watch, and I got drunk and got in trouble, and that was when I had to go see the skipper for being drunk on duty twice. And they gave me the option of going to rehab or getting a dishonorable discharge. You know, um, and of course I chose rehab. What and that was really the change for me because just a few weeks before that, I had this realization that alcohol had basically taken over my life. I was asked to look for one of our petty officers, and I went to the petty officer club where he normally hung out, and he wasn't there. And as I walked out, I was crossing the street, and all of a sudden I was looking to my right, and it was like I was looking out the backseat window of a car. And I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden this car starts moving forward, and I'm like, and I look up into the front seat. There's nobody in the seat, so I lean over, and all I see is a beer can in the front seat. And so I go to grab the steering wheel, and the seatbelt strapped me back, and was like, no. And I'm sitting here, doing one of these numbers, trying to reach the front, and then from there. I was just standing on the sidewalk. I was back into myself again, and I was standing on the sidewalk, and everything around me was dark, and all I saw was this light at the end of the tunnel where there was a life without all this drinking and stuff like that. But because there was so much darkness between me and that, I figured I was going to die in the process of trying to get there. But at that point, I didn't care, because after what I just experienced, it was like, you know, I'm going to die, or I'm going to be uh, done. I'm going to be over this stuff. And fortunately, here I am 30 years later.
Wow, what a moment. What a visualization right there of true powerlessness while you're sitting there in the back and your seatbelt
Oh,
won't come off, and it's just,
wow.
I mean that is powerless at its core right there.
Yeah. And
Man.
but I didn't know, but the thing was is they still had to do like a one of those interventions on me. There was like 7 or 8 guys. They come up and they were taking me to this guy that I was deathly afraid of. I'd only seen him a couple of times in the squadron walking around, and but he was a big burly guy, 6 feet tall, 300 pounds, and built, no fat whatsoever. And I'm this little scrawny 135-pound little kid. And so they take me in. They told me that they made up something about the what that the supervisor from the tool room wanted me for something because I messed something up or whatever. So I go over there and they're all following. I'm just kind of looking at them, and they open the door and this guy's sitting there in a chair right inside the door. And I try to run, and it literally took all 7 of me, a little scrawny 135-pound kid, took 7 guys to hold me down, to keep me from running. I mean, it was it was crazy,
Yeah.
but he helped me. He got me started in doing that, and he took me to my first AA meeting, and this was this and and I actually feel bad about this, but when I in the beginning they talk about, one guy said he had 15 days sober, another guy said he had 30 days sober, and they gave him a coin and all that stuff. And I leaned over after he got done with everything, and I leaned over to my friend loud enough to where everybody could hear me. Yeah, that's how long they've been broke, huh?
Wow.
And I mean, that's how far gone I was. I mean, I would, and I wasn't a nice person at all. I was a pretty evil person on top of it. So
135 pounds with a big mouth and just pissing off anyone that walks by him. But those are the things, right? You go to the meeting and you're comparing yourself and just like, oh, like I'm better than these guys are, but yet they got 15 days and you just got drug into a situation. And so, and that's the thing, 30 years ago ish, right? That AA was kind of like the thing. It was a thing. Now there's so many different things people can do to get help. But what was it like when you say you went to rehab? What type of rehab did you go to?
well, it was a 6-week live-in program at Miramar. It was on the Naval Air Base. That was where they filmed Top Gun.
Oh wow, okay.
And I mean, from my bunk I could see the hangar for where they filmed Top Gun.
Wow, that's cool.
Anyway, but they had one of the top rehab centers in the nation. They were like in the top 10. I can't remember what their number was, but they were in the top 10. And the first thing they do when you come in is they take your blood to see what kind of condition you're in. Well, I had the beginning stages of cirrhosis, the liver disease, and I was so far gone it didn't really register. I was like, whatever, you know. And they told me that I had to have this specific diet and all this stuff, and they forced me into it because they were also a medical center, and they had an obligation to make sure that I did what I was supposed to do. And so they told me if I stayed on this diet, my liver would heal itself. Okay, again, here I am 30 years later.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I've experienced a lot of miracles, even though my life got started in a way that was chosen for me, not something that I chose.
Yeah. Well, there's lots of pathways to find a new life and to find recovery and whatever that looks like for various people. But that's your story and that's the journey you went on. So when you look kind of 30 years down the road to today, Like, what are some things maybe you've done consistently for 30 years that have got you where you are now in your life?
I'd say use the principles, because I've also since then that same year was when Celebrate Recovery came out, but they were in LA, I was in San Diego, so I never experienced it until many years later, and I started helping with sound at a church and all that, and that's how I ended up getting connected with one of the Celebrate Recovery groups because they needed help with sound and stuff like that, and that's how I learned about it. But the main thing for me was, after I met Jesus, I would talk about him in all my meetings, and uh, I don't know if you know anything, but that went over like a lead brick.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got sober through AA, but I'm a Christian and I talk about Jesus too. And it's there's the you can say this, but you can't say that type thing. And then and it's their principles and traditions and all that stuff too, and it works for people. But yeah, the word Jesus is offensive to a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, their biggest thing for with me was it wasn't a religious program. It was a, a program of practicing spiritual principles. So one day I found an old 1976 Webster's dictionary, and I looked up the word religion, and you know what the first definition is? The practice of spiritual principles.
Oh wow, wow.
And that would and I'm one of those guys that I speak, and that anyway. So the
Anyway, we'll move
so
on.
basically they basically ran me out, because they got as many people as they could to start pushing me out and stuff like that. So then I just started going to church, and just really because the the principles and the steps are all based from the Bible. You know, it's just that a lot of churches didn't have the support that alcoholics and drug addicts need. And so unfortunately that didn't help me none. But I had a a persistence inside of me that wanted to know more and more about who God was, because I realized that He was the one who brought me to where I was, and so that's what's got me to where I'm at today.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you find what works for you. That's why we're doing these stories, is because your story is going to really resonate with someone and not to other people. My story of, I don't refer to myself as an addict anymore because I've been freed from my addictions and I'm free. Like, I'm not, my name's not Rob Lohman and I'm an addict. My name's Rob Lohman. I'm a child of God. And I don't even say anymore that I used to struggle with addictions, because I'm referring to the past, right? And I'm free from that. And that's my own story. And that rubs people wrong in my industry, because as an interventionist and a coach, you're like, man, you can't knock that. So I'm not knocking anything. Like, I'm grateful for AA. I'm grateful for NA. I'm grateful for CA. I'm grateful for GA and Celebrate Recovery and Smart Recovery and Dharma Recovery and all these things. Like, someone needs each one of those, right? But we find our own little journey, our own little path along the way. But I really appreciate you sharing your story, and just a little bit. Like, it's hard to get all in kind of like 10 minutes ish, right? And
Yeah,
there's so much more to it. But now today, like, what would a typical day look like for you as you work on your spiritual conditioning and your relationship with Jesus?
well, every morning I get ready for my daily devotion in my Jesus Lounge of Miracles, and I share my miracle. So I get up, I have a little bit of coffee, I pray, and then I start doing a little bit of worship. Then I read the devotion. Then I get into the scriptures and I look at the backstory and all that stuff. And then I spend a little bit more time in prayer just before I get on. And that allows me to allow the Spirit to really just flow into whatever He wants to guide me into.
I'll tell you, days are much better when you start your day off that way, instead of stepping into what Coach Andre says is best for himself. So, man, we know enough, but we don't know enough. And
Right.
I'm grateful to know you, and I know that there's some cool stuff we'll do together down the road. But for today and swimforrecovery.com, we captured your story a little bit. So thanks for spending a little bit of time with me.
And I
I'm great.
appreciate it.
Yeah, grateful for you.
All right.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks.
All
You
right.
too.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that was a friend of mine, Andre. I met him through a Christian networking group. It was pretty awesome. He's a great guy, doing a lot of cool things. Just thank you so much, Andre, for sharing your story with us on swimforrecovery.com. And remember, you can always go watch the replays on social media stuff, but you can just go to the website, swimforrecovery.com. I encourage you to go check it out, see what else is there. I got a couple other videos on there too that aren't part of the Swim for Recovery stuff. But again, so far 18 miles in, 1,188 laps, 316.6-ish football field lengths, and just been a great time. So mark your calendars here. I'll go ahead and pull up the flyer for this again because I want people to know about what's going on September 29th and why. Like, why are we doing something on September 29th? So let me bust up this flyer here real quick. There's not a website or anything for it, but you can definitely go. Actually, I'll pull up the Eventbrite page. Hold on just a second. We're going to go with, let me pull this up real quick. Rob Lohman, Eventbrite. Eventbrite. There it is. There it is. Boom. All right, cool. So let me pull this up and I will show you the website for the event. Now, you don't have to register for it, but it sure helps us plan on how many people are coming. So, which is good. So if you go to this domain name right here on the bottom of the screen, you're going to go to this page, which is the Eventbrite page. So here is the banner you've probably seen other places, but it's Thursday, September 29th from 6:30 to 9. And all you got to go to is the domain name you see right there. And you can register for the event. Here's our speakers. Kirk Samuels. A couple days ago, I did a thing with Gary Barnes as one of our speakers. You can learn more about him. And we're going to have free books while supplies last, free giveaways and prizes, free food and drinks, and free admission. Just come and hang out. Thanks to our sponsors, Elite Roofing, Landmark Recovery, Amari Global, Connect, Recovery Coaching, Gallus Medical Detoxes, Accelerate Fuel Tabs, and then, of course, Lifted from the Rut. But again, here's the book itself. If you don't have a copy of the book yet, you can actually just go on Amazon and order one whenever you want. But big party going on then, and we're going to recap as the end of Swim for Recovery comes along. But just wanted to bring people together and inspire people. And again, there's the book. It did hit #1 bestseller on Amazon for bestseller and new releases in 14 categories. This event's going to be over at Free Spiritual Community. It's called the Addiction Intervention Book Signing, Book Launch, and Night of Inspiration. So go there, register. We're going to stream it online also, but if you're local, let's do the local thing and get you there to hang out with us. So there you have it. Thanks for tuning in. And I know a lot of people watch this and don't actually engage in comments or anything, which is totally cool. I see people at the grocery store a lot, at a post office, and they said, "Hey, Rob, I saw your thing." That's awesome. It's nice when people make comments, though, so I want to encourage you to make some comments, say hi, tell people you're here, and we'll see you on the next broadcast tomorrow. By the way, tomorrow is my 51st birthday, so I'm going to talk a little bit about my story a little more tomorrow, and then we'll continue on the 20th with other people's journeys.